Hello guys and gals, Buffalo here, and I'm excited about today's video. It's finally sight-in time. I went ahead and put the Vortex Diamondback scope that I showed you guys in part 1 of this series. I went ahead and mounted it on, got it ready. I went ahead and bore sighted it the old-fashioned way. I put it in a sight vise, looked through the bore and centered my target up, and then I centered my crosshairs up on the target as well. So I'm hoping we're on paper. I'm going to sight it in first at 25 yards. I'm not really going to sight it in. I'm going to rough it in at 25 yards. We'll shoot a group, and then we'll move back to 100 yards and fine tune it. But really excited, finally getting to shoot it. Not going to lie to you guys, I couldn't wait. You know, the weather's been crappy, and I haven't had a whole lot of spare time, but I did shoot 3 rounds through it just as a function test, and it shot all 3 of those rounds perfectly. So today, we're going to see if I can get any accuracy out of it. Just real quick before we go any farther, I wanted to thank a viewer. I got some viewer mail the other day. A viewer sent me these customized dust covers for the 458 SOCOM and the 450 Bushmaster. The viewer that sent these also owns both calibers. He's really into these calibers, and he wanted to be a part of this project, so he sent these covers over for me. I think they're really cool. Gives them a kind of a customized touch. And they're easy to tell apart now. Got the caliber right on the dust cover, so that's pretty cool. I appreciate that. He wanted to remain unnamed, so not going to mention his name here, but he knows who he is, and I appreciate it. So the ammo I'm going to be using today is Underwood ammunition. It's 300 grain Nosler ballistic tip bullets, and it has an advertised velocity of 1900 feet per second. Of course, we're going to check that over the chronograph once we get roughed in on the 25-yard target. I know sight-in videos can get kind of boring, so I'll move this as quick as I can. I'm using a Lancer magazine that's been modified for the 450 Bushmaster. It's got a single stack Tromix follower in it, a little half moon cutout there in the front. 458 is revered to be more magazine friendly than the 450 Bushmaster, so modified magazines aren't necessary. But I figured since I already had this, I'd put it to use. I'm at 25 yards. I'm going to fire 3 shots if the first one's on paper. If the first one's not on paper, I'm going to stop, try to figure out where I hit, and make adjustments so that I can get on paper. Don't really care about group size at this point. I'm going to fine tune everything at 100 yards. I just want to make sure that I'm on paper when I back out to 100 yards, so I'm not just throwing ammo down the drain trying to find paper. This ammo's not cheap. This was about $2.50 a round. You know, I'm not complaining about the price of 458 SOCOM factory loaded ammunition. Kind of like buying a monster truck, then complaining about your gas mileage. You know what you're getting into before you get started. Let's see if I've done a good job bore sighting or not. We are on paper. So I'm going to go ahead and fire the other 2 shots. All right. Bolt locked back. We didn't get full lock back. We are locked on the carrier instead of the actual bolt. So we didn't get a full lock back there. Let's go check this target out. All right, so there's our 3 shots. Very happy with that. We're on paper. Didn't waste any ammo finding paper. You'll notice I'm using this gridded target from Optics Planet. It's got the 1-inch gridded squares on it. And anytime you guys shop at Optics Planet, use code Buffalo when you check out for a 5% discount. But these gridded squares are 1 inch. I know that scope is quarter MOA adjustments at 100 yards. So each square would be roughly 4 clicks. I'm 2 inches low, so I would come up 8 clicks. Now we're only at 25 yards, so you'd have to multiply that by 4. So what I'm going to do is come up 32 clicks, shoot this target one more time, then we'll put 5 rounds over the chronograph, and we'll do our final sight in at 100 yards. All right, so I've made my 32 clicks up, 3 rounds in the mag. Guys, usually this process doesn't go this easily. I can't believe I got my windage spot on just by bore sighting. I usually have to work at that a little. So let's see just if this puts us in the bullseye or not. I'm winded from walking back and forth between all these cameras. Uh-oh, misfeed. First misfeed I've had with it. Let's check that out. That's plenty good enough at 25 yards. That's all I'm going to shoot from this range. What we'll do, we'll shoot 5 shots over the chronograph. We'll figure our maximum point blank range on a 6-inch target, which is how I like to zero these big bore guns. And we'll decide how high we want to be at 100 yards. Then we'll go back to 100 yards and sight in. Let's keep rolling. All right, we're going to put 5 rounds over the chronograph just because I need numbers. The box says 1900 feet per second, but I need to know what it's doing out of this particular rig. This one has the 18-inch barrel, by the way. So, now I'm shooting into that creek bank on the far side. I don't want you guys thinking I'm just launching 458 rounds down through the woods. Oops, didn't feed. Another feeding issue. Five rounds. And we're still not locking completely back. We're locking back to the, see if I can. It's locking back on the carrier instead of the bolt head. That should be locked all the way back there. So it may be short stroking just a little bit. We'll see if that continues as we go along here. That made exactly 14 rounds through this upper. So we'll just, it's something we'll just have to keep an eye on and see if it works itself out, or if I have to take measures to try to get that running right. All right, so the average velocity of those 5 shots comes to roughly 1,843 feet per second. We can take that number along with some other numbers that I'm going to talk about and put them into a online calculator like shooterscalculator.com. That's the one I always end up using. But you can take your velocity, the drag function of your bullet, your ballistic coefficient, sight height, which is very important. A lot of people forget about that one. And of course the target size that you want to figure your maximum point blank range on. For a hunting gun like this one, I always use a 6-inch target. You can even correct for atmospheric conditions if you choose to. And that gives us a near zero of 27 yards, a far zero of 158 yards, and most importantly to me, I know my maximum point blank range with this cartridge. From the muzzle out to 184 yards. If everything else is perfect, I'll never be more than 3 inches above or 3 inches below my line of sight. I would consider this about a 150-yard gun for where I hunt. It's very wooded. Most shots are going to be well inside 100 yards actually, but I can confidently take a shot at 150 yards without using any holdover whatsoever and easily be in the vital zone of a deer or a hog or anything else of that size. So that being said, I will need to be 2.97 inches high at 100 yards. I'm just going to call it 3 inches, get as close as I can to that, and that's going to be as precise as I need to go with it. I don't think with those failures we were getting at the chronograph were magazine related, but just in case, I switched over to a standard 5.56 10-round magazine. All right, this is the part I've been looking forward to. Now, I didn't really care about my group size at 25 yards, but I do want to shoot the best I can at 100 yards. And we've got a pretty stiff little crosswind blowing, probably 10 miles an hour. But I don't get to choose the days that I get to do this kind of stuff, so I have to take what I get weather-wise. Let's send one. See here. All right, still not achieving full lock back. We're locking back on the bolt carrier instead of on the bolt itself. So still not sure if that's something that'll take care of itself as we break the rifle in. But let's go ahead and take a look at this target. All right, here was my first shot. This was my second 2 shots. So these look good. This one I'm hoping I pulled, being my first shot back there at that range. So I'll put another target up and shoot another group
before we make any adjustments. I want to be 3 inches high. So here's 1, 2, 3. These 2 shots are perfect. I'm going to try one more 3-shot group, hopefully a little tighter group than this one. And then if we're still shooting to the left, we'll move a couple of clicks. But also remember, our wind is blowing from right to left. And we do have a pretty stiff little breeze here, as you can see by the box, the wind blowing on the box here. Let's shoot another group. All right, let's go take a look. All right, so looks like 2 inches is about the best that I'm going to be able to do under these conditions. 2 inches at 100 yards is about 2 MOA, which I'm happy with. That, to me, this setup is going to be about a 150-yard gun on a deer-sized target. At 150 yards, you can expect 2 inches to open up to 3 inches, which is still going to be a useful hunting round for me, for my purposes. So, and I'm sure I could tighten this up under better conditions, but I'm not going to make excuses. Even at 2 MOA, I feel like that's plenty accurate for my purposes. I had a request from some of you guys to see the brass after I got done shooting. So here's the entire box of brass from that Underwood ammo. If y'all have hung with me this long, congratulations. You must be pretty tough. I know sight-in videos can be boring, and especially these allergies are killing me. My voice sounds all nasally and everything, even more than usual. But I did think that some of you guys might want to hang out with me and see the very first shots through this Bear Creek Arsenal complete upper assembly. And that's what today was, this very first shots. I've got exactly 20 rounds through this upper assembly. And it's hard to draw any firm conclusions when you've only got 20 rounds through something, especially using one type of, one brand of ammunition, you know. Can't come to any firm conclusions like that. I will say the accuracy potential is there. I think I can shoot better than that. It's hard, these types of videos, I gotta jog down, turn the camera on at the 100-yard range so I can have the target come up on the screen for you guys, because it would be even more boring to watch if you couldn't see what I was shooting at. So I gotta jog down, jog back up, turn the other camera on, and I'm winded, I'm trying to control my breathing. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying I think I could shoot this gun better on a better day under better conditions, and we could shrink those groups down. As far as the cycling, we seem to be short stroking a little bit. I don't think it's magazine issues. It did seem to run a little better with the 5.56 magazine. But the problem that I noticed is every time the bolt locked back, it locked back in this position. See how the bolt is forward a little bit there? That bolt should be locked all the way back like that. So I feel like we're short stroking a little bit, and that can cause feeding issues. I did pull the gas block off and inspected the gas ports, made sure they were lined up really good. They were. I gave it a good cleaning, checked out, pulled apart the bolt carrier group. It all looked good. If this continues with other types of ammunition, I may try to play with the buffer weight a little bit, the spring weight and buffer weight, and see if I can't tune it to run to get a full stroke on the cycle. But you know, we're that deep into this thing. We're one box of ammo deep, so we've got a long ways to go before we come to any firm conclusions. Look forward to doing part 3. In part 3, we'll definitely test the reliability. I've got some different types of ammo coming in. I ordered different types purposely, hollow points, flat nose, ballistic tips, just so we could see if it prefers a certain kind or not, and different bullet weights at that too. So got a long ways to go. We're only inches deep into this thing. Can't wait to see how it turns out though. But that's all I got. Appreciate you guys following me. Appreciate you guys over on Patreon. You're keeping this channel going. Really appreciate that. I also want to thank Bear Creek Arsenal for sending this upper over. You know, when somebody sends something to the Buffalo's Outdoors channel, they know they're going to, whatever's going on with it is going to be shown. I don't hide anything. You guys that follow the channel know that. And Bear Creek Arsenal knows that when they sent this over. So they know I'm going to give a good, fair, honest video when I do a video on something. So we're going to keep this thing going and see how she goes in part 3. That's all I got. And I'll talk with you guys again soon.